What's up, guys, and welcome to the 33rd video in this Java programming series. In this video, we're going to cover a concept called inheritance. So if you have never run into the idea of inheritance before within programming, this might be a little bit complicated to understand at first, but try to just bear with me, and we'll see how well you guys can understand it by the end, and how well I can actually explain this. So I'm going to explain this first in just an example here. So say I want to kind of create classes for all of the employees within a restaurant. So I used to work in a restaurant, so I'm just going to kind of work with that here. So we're going to have a class employee. Now, there are many different kinds of employees in a restaurant. So there are the bussers, there are servers, there are cooks, there are dishwashers. So there's a lot of different kinds of employees. So employees in a restaurant can be kind of divided into two major groups. So you have the back of house. Let me separate this pretty good here. So back of house employees, and you have the front of house employees. So these are just kind of like one more step of specialization down from an employee. So yeah, so we have these two major groups. Now, then within the back of house employees, you have even more specific specializations. So you have the cooks and you have the dishwashers, say for instance. So cooks and dishwashers are of the type back of house here. So then front of house, you have people like the servers, bussers, and greeters. So you have servers, bussers, and greeters are all front of the house employees. So this is really the basic idea of inheritance here. It's that you can inherit similar behavior as you specialize classes. So let's just create some of these classes here. So I'm going to create, let's see here, I'm in CrashCourseCode, source. I'm going to create a new class, and we're going to call this class the employee class. So our employee class is going to have a few variables here. We're going to say every single employee has a name. So we're going to say private string name. And let's say private int, every single employee has a social security number. So we're just going to put these two things as our employee. These are going to be the only things that our employee can kind of describe our employee. So what we're going to do is we are going to create some getter and setter methods for these two things. And a good way to do this is you can click this kind of yellow piece here, this yellow warning on each of these, and you get an option for creating getters and setter methods. And then you can change the names of what you want those to be, but generally that's correct. And we can write some getters and setters, and we can say getters and setters, just for this kind of section down here. Awesome, so now we have our employee class. Now let's say we want to do a back of house. We're going to go to the back of the house. So we want to specialize this class even further and create back of the house employees. So I'm going to create a new class again. I'm going to say new class. And we're going to call this back of house, so BOH employee. Then we're going to finish. We're going to create this class. Now, to make this BOH employee a inherit from our employee class, we need to use a really important keyword called extends. You put this right after the class name, and then you put in the class that you want it to inherit from. So the BOH employee is inheriting from the employee class. And think of this like a tree. So the employee is on top, and then the BOH employee is inheriting from that. So now let's think of what are some things that a back of the house employee can do. So let's say every single employee in the back can call for an order, let's say. So they can call an order, make it go on the fly, so someone has to take it out and go. So we're just going to say public void call order here. And we're just going to say system.println call order called. So all these methods, we're just going to kind of print out what they're doing. We're not actually going to have them do any significant amount of behavior, just because I'm trying to explain the idea of inheritance. So now let's say we have the front of the house employees. So let's create yet another class. We're going to be creating quite a few classes in this video, because that helps kind of explain the idea of inheritance. So we're going to say front of house, so FOH employee. And so what is some of the behavior of an FOH employee after we, of course, extends the employee class? So let's say we have one method that's going to be public void interacts with guests. And so we're going to say system.out.println interacts with guests called. Awesome. So we have the FOH employee, which extends the employee class. So now we have the employee, the backup house employee, and the FOH employee. So just to show you guys what we can do here with inheritance, the power of inheritance, before we move on to the next class, I'm going to go back into the main method, and I'm going to do something here. So I want to create a new FOH employee class. So I'm going to say FOH employee, FOH employee. So I'm just going to that's going to be our variable name. This is the name of our class, equals new FOH employee. And I'm going to do the same with, oh, sorry, I'm using Objective-C syntax. Don't worry about the asterisk. Just forget that just happened. We're going to say backup house employee, BOH employee, equals new BOH employee. So with these two things, so the FOH employee, remember we had this interact with guests method here. So we can say FOH employee dot interacts with guests. Awesome. So that works, and we can call this, and it's going to say interact with guests called right here. Let me just drag this console to the bottom. And same with the BOH employee, we can call the method we created there and say BOH employee dot call order. So we can call that method very well. You guys understand that why we can do that, just because they're contained within that class. But now the power of inheritance is that I can actually access everything within this employee class in either of these methods. So I can set the name for my FOH employee. So I can say FOH employee dot set name, and I can name this employee Bob. Put this in quotation marks to create your string. And I can do the same thing with the BOH employee here. So I can say set name Sally. And awesome. So I didn't have to have these fields within the BOH employee or the FOH employee class to be able to use these fields because they inherit from the employee class. So that's really the major power of inheritance. This is going to be the first half of this kind of inheritance video explanation. I'll give more explanation in the next one, and we'll kind of branch this out further just so you guys are sure to get a solid understanding of this idea of inheritance, because it is an incredible way to organize code and get similar behavior and similar types of objects. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.